So my guest today is Andrew Ray, who is the face and creator behind the massively successful YouTube channel Binging with Babish. So I first met him when I was promoting my stand-up special Human Magic, available now on Hulu. But by promoting it, I went on his show and ranked pickles. And I had so much fun, and he was so lovely that we've since become friends. And most recently, Andrew has become a podcast host. He has joined the Vox Media Podcast Network, and in collaboration with Eater, he hosts In the Booth with Babish, where he interviews celebrities and chefs, and they make a meal out of chit-chat. Every episode is structured like a menu of conversation, and his premiere episode was with Peabody award-winning chef Alton Brown. So come on in, it's open. So you have one of the most successful YouTube channels on YouTube. 10 million subscribers for Binging with Babish.
Thank you very much. It's actually a product of what we were talking about before, because I started about 10 years ago. And back then, you didn't need to pay for engagement, or it wasn't about creating the most engaging thing. You just put something out and people would gravitate to it.
Yep.
And I was lucky enough to come up in that era. You as well with Chronic Gamer Girl. Like that was just like the time when you would make something that you were excited about and it could succeed.
Yeah. And I won't gush, you know what I mean? I won't go nuts, but I do want to say your channel just brings people so much happiness. It's so gratifying, but it's not cheap because you are putting so much love and time into it. And you're right. There's like a natural gravitation toward it that is, it's just fucking brilliant. It started with the you making meals from TV and film. Yeah. Right? And you are a lover of TV and film. So this was combining your two passions.
Yeah. It took me, 27 years to figure it out. I've always been nuts about food and movies. And for some reason, took me a while to be like, oh, food from movies. I wasn't the first one doing it. There was a channel on YouTube called Feast of Fiction that was doing it for a while before me, but it was more geared toward kids. It was a very, very different format. I was deeply depressed. I had just finished working on a documentary for a year and a half that went nowhere, and I got paid $4,000 for editing this feature doc over 18 months, and it just imploded, and I was just so down. And I started going to therapy and getting on Wellbutrin, which has, given me a lot of bandwidth, and it took me out of the darkness a little bit. Yeah. I took on more debt than I already had, which was so much, way too much, and bought a camera and a light and was just fucking around in my kitchen. And I was background watching Parks and Rec, just like one listens to music. That's Parks, Broad City, Frasier. Those are my background watches. Yeah. And there was a burger cook-off, and I was like, what would that burger taste like? And that was that.
Yeah. You talk very openly about mental health. And when you were just saying about Wellbutrin, I always say there would be no Broad City without Cymbalta. I was on antidepressants, but it was it's also for chronic pain from ages 19 to 32. And the way that you just said it, that it expanded your bandwidth is exactly it, right? It doesn't change things. It just there's all these clouds taking up space, and it parts them a little bit. And it's funny how you were in such a low place, and then out of that, you found such an authentic expression of your creativity.
It raised the floor on how bad I could feel. And it's funny how we're both over-medicated and under-medicated at the same time, because so many people who have experienced even acute incidental depression get prescribed antidepressants, which can be good or bad. But then there are so many people who are just in the fucking dumps who can't bring themselves out to go and get the help that they need.
And they also think that's baseline.
Yeah.
So you're from Rochester, New York, and you went to school at Hofstra on Long Island, and I went to, I grew up on Long Island. I'm wondering about how your perception of mental health, or your grasp of mental health growing up. We're the same age, we're both from the suburbs of New York City. Was that the first time you hitting rock bottom? Was that the first time that you were like, oh, I'm depressed, this is what depression is, I need therapy? It sounded like it all happened at once, the way that you just said it.
Yeah, definitely of my own volition. My mother died when I was 11, and that obviously wasn't great. But it sent my dad into a deep, deep depression of course. And
do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have an older brother, but he's 7 years older than me, so he had a life going on.
Totally in a different phase.
Yeah, he was with us, but he, was building his life, and so it was just me and him, and we, were at odds. And I went to go see a therapist who was an awful therapist.
Fuck.
I remember him telling me, because I would have such big emotions that I couldn't go to school or I couldn't interact with people. And he would be like, sometimes you just need to put those emotions in a box. What are you, silent generation therapist? What is this?
Oh my God.
And so that was detrimental, I'd say. I only went to him for about a year, and my dad pulled me out for reasons I can't remember. And I didn't touch it since then. And
right, that makes sense.
I was also diagnosed ADHD without being treated for it, because basically my mom and dad got me tested when I was like 9, tested positive. She wanted to do it on her own. She didn't want to medicate me at the time.
Yeah.
It was just like Ritalin or
100.
And she didn't want to do that. And she was apparently doing a very good job. I don't really remember doing a very good job of just like finding systems that worked for my brain. And then when she died, obviously that all went out the window. And my father's always been a disciplinarian, so that obviously we butted heads on that. Yeah, mental health always felt and was always treated like either a luxury that, only the very wealthy who are caught up in their money problems have, or people who are very sick who really, really need it. It wasn't for people who are just trying to get through life with their existing traumas and stuff. I like to say that very few people need therapy, but everybody could use therapy. Maybe not very few people. Some people need therapy. Everybody could use therapy. And so, yeah, it took me a long time to figure that out. I was just gutting it out for the longest time. Wow. And that was the beginning of the change. It was that and mushrooms. I don't know if we can talk about mushrooms on the
100.
show. Oh, I figured.
And then also I didn't know that your mother passed away when you were a kid. I did not know that.
Yeah, no, it was her third bout with cancer. So everybody else kind of saw it coming, but I was 11. So I was just like, oh, it's her third round. She's got this.
Right.
And so it was actually extremely shocking when they came downstairs and told me that she had just died.
And you were 11 and your brother's 18. So yeah, he's out of the house.
Yeah. He was in college, and
which is, I mean, that's like so hard too.
Yeah, no, he was going through it in his own way. And
where was he at?
So he went to Rochester Institute,
cool.
nearby, and he did the exact same thing I would have done, which is turn inward. That's what we were always taught to do.
And 2 boys, you know?
And 2 boys, and we've always been anytime things are tough, we're taught to buck up and just deal with it.
Yep.
And I still have a lot of issues getting over that feeling of like, oh, you're not supposed to feel like this.
Totally.
You're supposed to be strong. You're supposed to be like capable, and you got to go pay this person $500 a week to talk to them, just to like it doesn't make sense to my simple man mind that I was given from an early age. But as I'm getting older, I'm getting better with it.
And then the other thing that just lit up for me is that you said your mom liked systems, which is reminding me of your channel and how you like organize it into systems. You know what I mean? That your production is so robust, and the team also. It's just making me think about like the systems that you employ. That's really funny. And it sounds like without medication, she was like really dedicated to practicing it, which is like so clearly what your work is, so clearly like the effort of your work, so much practice and systems put in place and trying it again and again and again and again until you get it perfect. I've
never thought of that. That's really interesting. And it's cool. It's cool to think about it that way, because I'm going off hearsay. I'm going off what people tell me, because I've obviously a lot of people that I've met that who've lost parents around that age, they don't remember anything before that, and I have little fits and starts, little glimmers of like particularly bad moments usually that wedge themselves in my brain, but I don't remember what her voice sounds like. I don't remember many of the things that she did. It's more things that people have told me. So to know that it's imprinted on me in some way, outside of my conscious identity. That's really cool to think about.
And also, like, I'm not surprised that you are drawn to mushrooms because it is such a like mothering substance, you know?
Yeah.
And it also like, it'll bring these things up that you can't like think of from here. You know what I mean? It has to like sort of like blossom from behind. So that started when you were, so first of all, there's like two other things I want to say, but I'm going to hold them for here. I didn't realize that it was only 10 years ago that you started the channel. I thought it was more like 14 or 15.
No, it was back in 2016.
That is incredible. You have gained so much success in this time. And like Broad City was happening before it, and LOL Chronic Gamer Girl, thank you for knowing it.
Of course.
We love it. But that is, it like really popped off in such a short amount of time.
It feels weird saying this, but for food YouTubers or any YouTubers that could self-produce, if COVID were kind of the halcyon days, because I didn't stop. I was working harder than I have ever worked during COVID because all I had to do was be in the house and keep making videos. Is the only way I could stay sane. So like I remember one month I got 260,000 subscribers in a month.
Wow!
Because everybody was making sourdough. And
right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Wow. That's so cool. Interrupting your regularly scheduled programming to announce It's Open's partnership with the one, the only Ben & Jerry's. I actually went to the factory of Ben & Jerry's in Vermont and had such an amazing time with one of their top team members, Sean, learning about how the brand puts its mission of social justice and progressing human rights into practice, down to the very little details in every pint of ice cream they make. And everyone working there, and certainly everyone visiting, was just filled with joy. I was so inspired to see Ben & Jerry's mission come to life up close. New York Super Fudge Chunk is like full of chocolate, but it's got tons of nuts because New York is full of nut jobs. It has chocolate ice cream with white and dark fudge chunks, pecans, walnuts, and fudge-covered almonds. It's like chaotic. It's incredible. It's magical. It's New York. They got us. Fuck. And we all know Ben & Jerry's to be a really socially responsible company. So they have a new flavor this year called Razz Up. Razz Up is available right now, and it is aimed at getting people to the polls deliciously. Oh my God, look at that. Black raspberry ice cream. So good. Head to benjerry.com to check out their efforts to get people to the polls to vote for leaders and policies who actually reflect community needs. And by the way, get yourself some ice cream, girl. So you can find Ben & Jerry's at your local grocery store, bodega, convenience store. But if you're looking for these exact flavors, check out their flavor finder at benjerry.com. Ooh. Hi, just stepping in to interrupt myself here with my Ground News segment for It's Open. So Ground News is a website and an app that aggregates articles from all around the world and then organizes them into left, center, and right-leaning biases to make it easy for you to have media literacy in this time when the news is just, a tsunami of nonsense. Ground News will also tell you where articles are coming from and whether or not it is original or recycled reporting. I feel like I'm in control and I have my hands on the steering wheel of my own news consumption rather than being a pawn in someone else's game. So I've been absolutely disturbed by the instability in the economy in the US and around the world in the past couple of years since Trump took office. And I want to see what's going on in trade. So let's look at the left-leaning sources. U.S. appeals court blocks Trump admin from enacting new plans to slash consumer watchdog staff. So U.S. appeals court blocked it. Great. Thanks, U.S. appeals court, whatever. So join me in sifting through the crazy news and making sense of it by going to groundnews.com/open. That's ground, GROUND, news.com/open for It's Open with Ilana Glazer for 40% off the Vantage plan. Ground News is subscriber funded and female founded. And the thing I love about being subscriber funded is that we are investing in sharing a reality together. You can find the direct link to this opportunity to get 40% off the Vantage plan in the episode description on every platform you watch and listen to It's Open. Pausing your regularly scheduled programming to offer you a great discount on a great product. Thank goodness springtime is here. I was losing it, dog. But I'm so happy it's here because when I put my boots back on the shelf, I put on Bombas footwear. Check this out. Oh yeah, it's time for springtime and summer, baby. This is waterproof. This is lightweight. I could toss it. Here's another product. I could toss it in my bag. I could toss them on, walk outside, take a shower at the gym. You know what I'm talking about? Not to brag that I go to the gym. And I'm just loving it. This is Bombas footwear. I thought they just made socks. No, they make footwear too. You know what I also didn't realize they make? Underwear and t-shirts. I'm wearing it right now. It's breathable. It's soft. It's feeling good on my body. Oh, check this out. Yeah, that's nice. It just feels good. I'm loving it. And something I did not know about Bombas is that for every item you purchase, an essential clothing item is donated to someone facing housing insecurity. One purchased, one donated, with over 150 million donations and counting. Whew, these are high quality products. And to think that I'm buying something and someone who needs this is receiving it as well makes me feel good. So head over to bombas.com/Ilana and use the code Ilana to get 20% off your first purchase. So Bombas is bombas.com/Ilana, ILANA. And then use the code Ilana, ILANA, to get 20% off. See you later. So you're saying after this doc, you fell into depression, and this is when you were like, I gotta just make this video for fun, right? And you started therapy, but mushrooms as well?
Yes. So this is before I made the first video. I definitely did mushrooms before the first video. I was probably going to therapy for 6 months before I, managed to come up.
Got it.
And I was going to my old bosses. Every year they would have a big birthday blowout in Montauk, and they said they were going to do mushrooms, and I was like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if I'm into that. And so when I say you wouldn't have recognized me back then, I mean it, both physically because I had some hair and no beard and zero confidence and zero ability to carry a conversation without constantly just judging everything that was coming out of my mouth. In other words, not be able to hold a conversation. And then I did the mushrooms and I got a glimpse into, oh my God, this is the person I've always wanted to be. I was making people laugh. The one guy had a freak out on the mushrooms and because this really drunk cop just walked into the house.
Oh, well, welcome to Long Island. This really drunk cop just walked into my house. Yeah, that's Long Island.
Blackout dude came in. I mean, it was a little, cottage, like a rental thing. And he just walked in and sat down. He's like, "You gonna make me a drink?" And we're
so scary in his uniform.
And no, he was plain clothes. We asked him, "What do you do?" And he was like, "I'm an off-duty officer." And one guy,
I'm professionally a drunk off-duty officer.
Well,
Yeah.
But then one guy the guy who brought the mushrooms literally stood up like the Manchurian Candidate and just walked out because he was like, "No, I'm not doing this." And he didn't bring his shoes and he didn't bring his stuff. So I chased him down on my bike with one hand. I could never ride my bike with one hand. And I had a flashlight and I was like, how am I doing this? And so even stuff like that, it was just here's the guy you've always wanted to be. It's right.
And you're going to save this other guy who's freaking out.
Yeah. And I must have scared the hell out of him because he was walking in the center of the road, just as the crow flies back to his house. And I pulled up on a bike with a flashlight. Hey, so here's your shoes. It just showed me that the person you've always wanted to be is in there. This helped you access it, but I got a taste of I can be this person.
And this is at the same time that you're starting therapy.
Yeah, I can't super recommend going out and getting on antidepressants and trying psychedelics at the same time. Probably not the most cogent move, but it worked out for me.
It fully lines up for me.
Okay. Well, I fear other people's mental states and that not working for them.
Yeah.
But no, it was hugely transformative. I thank mushrooms every day and every time I do them.
Yeah. How often do you do them?
I microdose pretty frequently.
Cool.
I don't have a regimen about it. I did it twice last week.
Nice.
Didn't do it for a month before that. And then I'll macrodose, if you will, once every few months.
Cool. Will you stay in the city to do that?
I will, but Deanna and I love eating mushrooms and then going on like 10-mile walks. We'll walk down through Prospect Park and just like take in nature. You got to be in nature when you trip. It's hard to do it in the city.
Do people recognize you constantly?
With frequency enough that, when we go out on those walks, I'll get recognized a couple of times, which when
Does
I'm
it freak you
tripping,
out?
Yeah. When I'm tripping, I'll always ask after we walk away, I'll be like, was I weird? Did I say anything weird? And Dan will be like, no, you were perfectly charming. And that becomes an issue only when I'm on mushrooms and when I'm headed to and from therapy on the subway. Sometimes I just got out of talking about like my mom or my sexual trauma and I don't want to take a selfie, but this is the only time it's ever been an issue.
Yeah. I like to be in nature when I trip, and I haven't done like a macro trip in a long time, but it's making me think of my best friend. She had 2 kids like quickly in a row, and it's like just so unbelievably effortful to have 2 kids under 2 and then get them to the point where they can like wipe their butts or whatever. And she, for the first time, has gotten into tripping, and it just makes so much sense to me. And it's so, I'm loving being a millennial parent despite all the fascism. But other than that, it's like it's so cool that this is a normal thing for moms to do. Like, it's helping her just having all the things come up.
When I kind of imagine it like I am a rubber band ball, and the rubber bands are like thought and behavior patterns, and they just keep getting strapped on until you're this big quivering, like ball of systems, and if I do this, then I have to do this, and just like future tripping, past tripping, all this stuff, and then mushrooms or ketamine comes through like a hot knife and just cuts all those away, and reminds me like, oh, it's not as complicated as I'm making it. It's not as dire and horrible as I'm making it. And no, this isn't the beginning of the end of my career or my life or whatever. As I'm, with enough time, I'm just constantly, I wish I could do it without it, but thus far I've needed plant help in order to, get back to that baseline, which is where I want to be.
Totally. And it also like lets your brain practice being there.
Yeah.
That's what I think about antidepressants too. It's like, to do therapy and have medication, if that's what you need, is so helpful, because like the therapy can be more productive because you have the medication, helping your brain like make the space for it. You are such a thoughtful, reflective gentleman. Nobody says gentleman anymore, but like you're a really like a gentle guy. And also like, I think you present the tip of the spear for you is your reflectiveness. It's not like something that you're like, the way that you talk about how much thought you put into these videos, and then you thought of a new way that you could turn it over, and then the thing turns on its ear again and turns on its ear again, but like, and also you grew up with all men, after age 11, but I feel like you present this alternative masculinity that I don't think it's a coincidence that you are so popular, and that your videos that you resonate with people, and that they want to be in that world of like, you got a deep voice, but it's like a soft voice, and you're like sort of gently bringing people through the process.
It's one of my favorite things about what I do is when people stop me on the street. The most recent time this happened was yesterday in a restaurant. The server, this young guy was like, you got me into cooking, and I couldn't be happier with that. If that's the mark that I leave, that's amazing. And yeah, I think that there's a lot of strength in vulnerability. I say that while still having a very difficult time being vulnerable. I want to be a place where guys can come to be, and they hate when I even say this, soft. I think that we need softness as men, because when you're hard all the time, not only is it not good for your circulatory system, but also it just makes you always have armor on, and it turns you into an island. And so many men are islands. They love thinking of themselves as islands. Like even people who are great providers and fathers, they're doing it all for other people. And yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to talk about the difficulties of being a man when there's so many other struggles in the world. It feels like, why are we talking about this? But given the influences that are out there in the world right now, it's something I think, I would love to talk about more. Because I think when I was younger, when I was, 12, and I was just starting to, like girls, and they did not like me back. And I was very sad and very angry and very lonely. I am 99% sure if all this manosphere shit existed when I was that age, I would have gotten swept up in it. I think I would have absolutely, because if strong presenting men were telling me, the problem isn't in you, it's everyone else, and I have the answer, I would probably listen.
How seductive is that messaging? That is so seductive, especially to a kid or anybody's like kid brain, to be able to blame it on someone else.
Yeah.
It's so sick. And yeah, I can only imagine. Of course, we had messages and systems, within this same framework, but the way it's available right now, constantly and in your hand, you're right. You could have been swept up in it. And the effort that it takes to unlearn, deprogram, and then become yourself, it's like this moment we're in right now culturally is like setting us back decades, because we're going to have to rebuild the framework and present it to people to know what a normal fucking baseline is. It's psychotic right now.
And all we have to do is dose everyone in the world with a little bit, mostly America, with mushrooms.
100. Oh, America needs to trip balls for sure.
That should be the one takeaway from this interview, is that America needs to trip balls.
That's the feeling of having a kiddo too, is, you feel like you're tripping, and sometimes you are, sometimes you're microing, but it's just, they're so naturally exploratory. And I was thinking about this yesterday, is about how when you trip, everything's profound. If we had just more time and space and our basic needs were met, we would have so much more space to see things as the profound thing that they are.
Yeah. It really comes back to, for me, it's presence. Like, if you're truly present, everything's awesome, because this is all there is.
And that's the thing about having a kiddo, is like, the goal is just to be present with them. And then I'm present and I'm like, wow, everything is fucking awesome. You mentioned Sawyer Jacobs, who's your business partner and a big old Jew. When I first met you, I was like,
words, yeah.
When I first met you, I was a couple years ago, I was like, I thought you were Jewish because you're so sensitive. And I thought maybe your last name was like Eastern European, and I was calling it Raya for a time. And I was like, yeah, it ends with an A, but I don't know. I just thought you were Jewish.
It's very exotic, yeah.
But you're not. No. And, sometimes I find with white people who are not Jewish, is that they're like drawn to Jewish people because there's this like, culture of sensitivity and thoughtfulness that I'm really proud of. Yeah, like I'm just curious about your relationship with Sawyer. If you were just liked his like Jewish, he is like, he's like our age, but David and I laugh that he's like, it's almost like you could picture him being like a 50-year-old Jewish dad in 5th grade.
Wow, yeah. That's beautiful.
Is that right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
He's such a mensch. I mean, he is.
Oh, he's a true mensch. And I'm so lucky that he's my best friend, my business partner. I get to be in business with somebody that I trust implicitly. It's very rare. It's really wonderful. And yeah, no, I'm gonna come out and say it on the record. I love Jews.
We need it.
I love Jews because beyond the thoughtfulness and the sort of presence that you're talking about, but also there's a wonderful sense of community and family and tradition. And I think that tradition is something I wish I had more of. Ritual, or just old actions that connect you to history. And I don't have any of that. Like I came up Presbyterian. I became an atheist in college, like so many people. And once I got into Reddit, game over. I was an atheist all the way through.
Reddit is atheist. Cool.
Yeah. But then I had my big trip, and I don't belong to any religion. I have my own experience, and but I'm not an atheist anymore.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing yourself with me today. We've I like kind of didn't contextualize this, but I will in the intro. But we've gotten to know each other the past couple of years, and
we're neighbors.
We're neighbors, and we can always get real fast, and I love it.
I really appreciate it, and I appreciate that you can do that with your guests on this show. It's a really great show, and I'm so happy for you every time I see a new episode come out.
Thank you. I'm learning so much from you. All the joy and just thoughtfulness that you put into your channel, really inspires me.
Well, thank you so much. And you inspire me. We can keep going back and forth. You inspire me too.
I want to thank Andrew Ray for coming and joining me today and really opening his heart. This has been a solely human production. This is a Star Picks production. I want to thank my creative producers, Annika Carlson, David Rooklin, and Glennis, Meagher, Kelsie, Kiley, and Madeline Kim. I want to thank the people who made this look and sound so good. Kevin Deming, Lexa, Krebs, and Nicole Maupin. I want to thank Raymo Ventura for the graphics and opening musical sting. And I want to thank the band Don Her for this outro music. Listen, if you like this show, like, subscribe, and join the community wherever you podcast and or on YouTube. It makes a difference for us to be able to do it. And do it independently is also the thing. And join my Substack. That's my newsletter where you can see all the shit that drops in my life and how I can come to you. That's it, you guys. Take care of yourselves today. Get some rest. We're going to get through this. And sending you love. Mwah. Later.